All right, so welcome back to part two of learning and understanding Campaign Gang Media's vision, mission, and values. I know the first video was about an hour long, pretty long and extensive, a lot longer than what I expected. I really expected each one to be about 30 minutes. Um, but I tried to convey as much of the details and elaborate as much as possible. So hopefully I was successful with doing that. And as I said in the first video, this is the first time in actually a long time I've went live and actually published videos. So bear with me as it gets better. I will be posting more videos over the weeks and building up not only this personal channel, but our actual media channel, Campaign Gang Media, which is on YouTube also. That's the main channel. This channel is my personal channel where you can find different types of tutorials and information that personally the guru does and stuff that I personally would like for you guys to know. So hopefully y'all find it interesting and y'all click the subscribe button and you comment. And I know most likely a lot of times sharing is a tad bit much for most of you guys. But if it don't hurt to share some of my content, share it. I would definitely appreciate that. That'll definitely help, spread the inspiration. But to keep that short, anyhow, let's roll into the content because we don't want this one to be as long as the last video. Pretty sure it was kind of difficult to stay tuned and focus being sitting on the same screen for so long. So we're going to continue on and hit the points where we left off in part one, going into part two. So let's go ahead and get that started. So we ended in between our number one value, and we were speaking on and elaborating on how our values can work towards our partnerships. And I think that was a great, establishment as far as the policy and the value at that point. Being able to interchange our values, no matter what projects we have at hand or who we're working with, is a major benefit and a factor towards our growth. So hopefully if you go back and play in the video, the points that I made, they're pretty valid to you, and you can adjust to those to understand the value behind them. But continuing on where I stopped at, the next one is a major part in importance of this number one value that we started with. And that's the number one thing that I pretty much preach from experience, and that's team play, teamwork. So for the most part, I'm going to go ahead and run down and read it through and elaborate where I think you guys will have questions at. And like I said, if you have questions that I do not touch on while in this video, feel free to comment, email me, Facebook me, whatever. Ask me the questions, let's get it out. And that pretty much helps me also. More questions you ask, the more solid or solidified the actual plan can become. So that also helps interaction. But carrying on, team play, the efforts of one is never greater than the efforts of many. That's a quote by Chance, yes. And it is a major quote that I think we all go through as becoming entrepreneurs and growing through life. Once you adapt that and understand the value behind that perspective, there's nothing you can really do by yourself, right? You can do a lot by yourself, but you won't accomplish the ultimate goal by yourself. It's merely impossible. Nobody has become successful by themselves, no matter how self-sufficient they feel they are. You needed somebody along the line of your journey to help you get to a certain point and even continue. You may not acknowledge those people, you may not acknowledge that effort. That's all on your character. But the efforts of many is always stronger than one. And simply put, I'm sure we all kind of understand it to a point. But just understanding from experience, when I first started Campaign Gang, I kind of started, as I mentioned, from the top of how I derived the business aspect by myself. And as I was young at that point in time, before and starting the entity before that, and doing that entity partially by myself and starting that one by myself, it was an experience. I had to learn that it's only so much I can do by myself. And now through the experience, understanding that the value of a team is much more valuable and understood. The efforts that I did and I'm doing as I started Campaign Gang, I've always viewed it as though if I had 3 or 4 of me, or even just a smaller effort from 3 or 4 people, on the magnitude of the vision, even then when it was misconstrued in a lot of ways, it can be great. I mean, with that being said, you can have the dumbest plan, but as long as you have a lot of people supporting it or you have people behind you believing it, that's a powerful plan, and it'll grow from that. So that's something I kind of emphasize on. I want to always emphasize on, no matter who comes a part of Campaign Gang, whether you're a graduate of several degrees, 1 degree, or 0 degrees, or 10 years experience, 5-year experience. It means a lot in a lot of aspects, a lot of ways. We don't disregard that. We don't disregard the accomplishment, but the actual experience and the actual principle behind it is a lot greater than that particular accomplishment. And being that, we always want to stay in the mindset that as a team, we can accomplish a lot more. And we all need each other for different aspects. Certain things that you can do that I can't do, certain things that I'm weak at that you're strong at, vice versa. And that's the point of us being a team and learning and growing. And if you can't adopt that, I can tell you right away, being a part of our team and our culture is going to be pretty difficult, because we are like a team setting. And most companies, they preach about it being family. We are actually family, and we treat it as such. We respect each other as such, and we respect each other's capabilities as such. And we harness those. We exploit those, and we grow together. We don't relinquish each other based upon our weakness. That's something I won't tolerate on the higher or lower end of our company. But carrying on, to elaborate a little more in the deep, together we are more. Team play means sharing expertise and other resources between staff members, departments, and units. When we play as a team, we provide a good example for others and also give them space to work. That means a lot. That means entirely a lot. I'm elaborating on it as I finish this paragraph and the point on top of that. We also adapt these principles when all or part of the team is made up of employees from companies other than Campaign Gang. And it, like I said, it kind of piggyback on the top what we were saying, our values are interchangeable and how it can benefit other organizations, whether it's an in-house project or an outside outsourced project. When I say we play as a team, I very, very seldom kind of focus on forcing the mindset of people, but I am forceful in this. And what I mean by that is, as having objectives for a business, that is there for a reason. And just as such as the policies at the job where you go, they have policies for you being on time for a reason. Policies for you doing a job a certain way for a reason. Not to have you in control. It is a control factor, but it's not to have you in control. It's basically to control the results that they produce with the company. And that's the purpose of us having these values and this policy. And the reason I'm pointing it out is, if we follow those as a team, we can lead as example for people coming in and people that's already part of the organization that feel that they don't have as much value in the organization. And that allows us to pretty much give a good example to those of how our environment works and how feasible it can be to benefit your particular career if you partake in our values in a policy day in and day out. The moment you drop these values in that policy, the relationship between your partner or your collateral business that you're working with, it becomes less valuable and it becomes noticeable, especially when you're dealing with other enthusiastic people that are pretty much results driven. They're already analyzing, they're already observing who they're working with, they're already questioning and particularly possibly doubting. So to alleviate that, if we stick to our values and our policy, we can keep this focus in the whole perspective at a certain level to produce on an efficient level. So keep that in mind, the purpose of these values and the reason why they are so elaborate, and giving people the space to work freedomly, not freedomly, to correct that, with freedom. That entails, I feel like, me personally, we all work in different situations differently, but I feel like none of us would feel great with having someone standing over our shoulder, pretty much holding our hand, babying us, while we're doing our expertise or what we feel comfortable doing. And that's fine, because some of us perform decent with that and some of us don't. Some of us are uncomfortable, and that's respectable. So we want to be able to create that space for you to be able to work in peace, with the right resources you need, whether it's home or it's at the CGM headquarters or wherever you are. We want to provide that space for that comfort for you to be able to create and remain in creativity and imaginative mind state. So carrying on with that, that's a major point I wanted to hit on. And like I said, adopting these principles, when either it's a part of a team mixed with another partnership or it's a whole team, the same thing applies. And in order to extend that, what we do is, it's like I said, it's not forceful, but as we meet with these partnerships, we bring our forefront, our prospects, our team, of who's going to be a part of that project in particular, and we do a cross-examination. Pretty much give a dialogue and a discussion about who we are individually and our strengths and weaknesses. Therefore, it's out in the air, it's on the table. The discomfort is kind of alleviated because once we speak across table to each other, it's more comfortable getting it out and understanding each other, at a certain level. And as they continue to grow and graduate throughout the project, we build on that relationship. So with that being said, that allows us to be able to feel comfortable with each other, exchanging these values without it being forceful. Because none of us naturally as humans, whatever we're comfortable to and complacent with, that's good and bad. But just being realistic, none of us likes forceful things forced upon us. No one wants something that you just not used to doing daily or accepting daily, just dropped in your lap and they expect you to adapt to it. So we definitely understand that. But in dialogue, having someone to understand our values and displaying those amongst each other is easier for them to partake and understand the value behind it. So that's something I want to strongly enforce with our team everywhere we go. Stand by these values, accept these values, listen to these values, read them, question them, do whatever you need to do, but adapt to them because they're placed in place not only to better our business at CGM as a whole, but your personal life. And if you adapt to them, you'll see yourself elevate. So keep that in mind. That's a particular reason that I kind of spent a lot of time in deriving this. But keeping the time moving, rolling on to the next major point. Good team play involves conversation and goal setting. Number one thing, values the expertise of others and is meaningful for its participants. I'm gonna hit that just for a second. I'm gonna roll on. Good team play is always an interactive effort. That means you're not the type of person, as we all have a part in our personality, the observant part of our personality. That's fine. That's needed in certain situations, but in meetings, company meetings, and interactive meetings when you're with customers, that won't work. You observe them from a different standpoint and a different method. But once you're in the engagement setting, you have to engage, even in the meetings. Sitting back, being quiet, not contributing, that's something that we kind of try to differentiate. If that's of your prominent character, I really advise you, to try to work on that because that will hinder you. And not only hinder you, the group that you're working with, and hinder when you have a group of energetic, enthusiastic people interacting and growing in suggestions. And then all of a sudden your suggestion comes at the wrong time or at a later time when it's not prevalent to what's going on. And at that point, we don't want you to feel like your suggestion is any less valuable. So at the time, get it out. Feel free to open up and be a part of the team. But like I said, we're family and we can never understand each other in characteristics if we don't voice it. It's harder for someone to read you as a person. And that's not good, in growth. That's something we kind of don't want to tolerate. And like I said, it involves conversation and goal setting, and that extends to personal goals and business goals, whether it's your business goals you have for your business or business goals you have in mind for CampaignGanG Media or your personal goals. We make sure we emphasize on those as you're coming in and part of the team, and as we continue to grow, we make sure we keep our goals mixed and on the forefront and in front of us. Per meeting, per project, everything. We make sure we keep our goals in tune, intact, to where they're as common as possible. And that's important to me. Values the expertise of others and is meaningful for its participants. That means a lot within itself. We always value, like I said earlier, each other's expertise to a point that we don't cross and step on each other's toes. If you know in your mind that this is something you don't have a strong point at, don't pretend. Accept that. And that's how you grow and you educate yourself, accepting the fact that you don't know. It's not a major key or definition of being ignorant. We won't go that direction of thought of it, but it's the fact of being able to be knowledgeable and acceptable to who you are, and then being able to learn from someone that's a part of the team. So it's not a competition amongst us. It's more so a competition together for us to grow and learn together and see who can learn the fastest. I can take that as a competition. That's fine. But as far as in working against each other, that's something we won't tolerate amongst each other. Now, friendly competition, that's fine. We do have competitive goals amongst each other. We will have every month. Different story. But as far as in talent and skill, no, we are combined to work towards the similar goal with similar aspects and different skills. So it's no point of competition if you're doing something totally different than the next person. It's all a team effort. And like I said, we value the expertise of each person. No matter what extent, whether they're amateur or they just started school, that is value. And that value comes from based on how you value your career and your choice. How we value that also. It's a balance. And we make it meaningful for its participants. That means everybody that's involved, we try to add value behind your goal and set it up to where it's accepted as our goal, and not just a burden of your own and accomplishment. Like I said, we're family, and families accomplish things together. We accomplish all of our goals and our objectives together in a sort of fashion. So that's the importance of that. Moving on to that, all members of a team have suitable roles that complement one another. That by itself is a major point and a simple statement. Everybody has an accountability, and a responsibility matters a lot once you become a part of CGM. And I hold that very highly over everyone, even myself. I have a high responsibility of being you guys' director. So I expect you guys to hold to your accountability and your responsibility as being in your career and your choice of who you will be for CampaignGanG, and go on going. Holding yourself accountable for who you choose to be in life. That means a lot. And if you can't accept it yourself, you need to be honest to yourself. Because as a director, I want to make it clear of who I am and get a character understanding. Most people that know me, one of my biggest peeves is time, wasting time. We all value our time, and that's something we can't put a number on, and can't get it back. So I'm always avid on using time adequately. So with that being said, it is very important that every team member has a particular role and understand their role towards their career, and not only with CGM. Understand it to the point that you breathe it. You wake up, you walk in it, like brushing your teeth. It's acceptable to you. It's not a burden to you. It's actually a benefit to you. It puts you in a perspective to actually be a business owner. And that's the point of that, understanding your role and how it benefits a team. That's the power behind that. And each one will complement each other. We won't bring anybody aboard the team that's pointless to our culture and our growth. We have a particular onboarding method and policy that we believe is a great process, even on both ends. It's not a traditional process as most jobs. An interview, you sit down and it's a scrutiny of the interview questions, and you wait a long process, background check process, drug test process. It's not that. It's pretty simple. You sit down with a couple of our boards, our executive team members, whoever selected for that interview in particular. It may be different sometimes. It may be the same people per interview. It just varies. And they set up a distinctive amount of questions that are not too entailed. They are not too detailed. They're simple. They pretty much give you a chance to open up and show who you are. And during that process, you have a chance to learn who we are and ask as many questions. So the process is not traditional, like I said. In most cases, it's virtual, like over the screen as such. And in some cases, it's face-to-face. It just all depends on availability and convenience. But with that being said, every role is designed to complement the next department, whether you do something similar or something different. That person's in that role, they're in that role in particular to carry out a mission itself. And that mission is very important to be carried out because the next department depends on that to carry out their mission. So if you're not doing your job as part of CGM, it does show. This machine will not move correctly. And we do have a procedure and policy to alleviate that. So let's just make sure we are out to do our job to 100%. And if not, we at least attempt to and find ways to get it done. Excuses is zero tolerance, as far as in that. And that's a promise. Carrying on, team play also allows us to make our operations more effective. There's no point in doing the same thing more than once. That's something of a value that we must emphasize on. Do it right the first time. Like I said, give it 100%. If you feel like you can't give it 100%, make it known. Pass it on to your next team members that you feel like you cannot handle this and you may need help. Don't be afraid to ask for help within the actual community we have. Because there's plenty of us around that's more than happy to help the cause or help the project move forward, whether it's our expertise or not. We're willing to learn. We're willing to put our brains together and actually brainstorm in any type of way to get the point across and get to our goal. So don't ever get hung over on that, feeling that you're obligated to do something that you feel like you can't do at the moment. That's fine. We all have times, and it's all prominent times that we are capable to perform at 100%. We don't always expect you to be a robot. It's not a robot job. We're humans. So that's the point of having us motivating and empowering each other daily to keep that in aspect. So hopefully you understood that, because that's simple, but it makes the operation a lot more effective by following team play. It actually makes it move smoother. It keeps that stress that I just pointed out, the stress factor individually, keeps it minimal. Because I know for a fact, as long as we're trying to do things alone, like I said, in prior experience, you're going to stress because you're trying to process everything alone. You think you could do a lot of stuff alone. And then when you run into failure here and there, it's a deeper extent of failure than a conversion of success. And so we're going to alleviate that by being a team and moving forward as a team together. So on to the next point. CampaignGanG has a well-equipped, experienced network for good cooperation and a working atmosphere that strengthens team play. The thing about that is, right now we have a hub. We have a Think Hub, and this Think Hub is located in Atlanta, of course. It has everything we particularly need to operate on the level that we're at right now. A digital lab of 627, just to clarify that. About 7 Mac computers, iMacs, fully loaded, all software, Adobe Suite, whatever you name it, fully loaded, accessible for editing and learning and so forth, and getting our projects done. For those that don't have access to that quality of work, that's open. And that helps for our cooperation amongst the team and to make things move smoother. We definitely know we don't have the particular resources starting right now to particularly give you guys like Oprah, you get a computer, you get a computer, you get a computer. We don't have that. So until we get that, although your guru does work on computers, I don't have many laying around to just lend out to our team. I wish I could. Hopefully we can get there within the near future. But until then, we're going to improvise. And if you do particularly have computers that are operable and you would like to upgrade and get them on an operating level to where you can use it to proceed in your career, feel free to email me, ask me questions, send me over the description of your machine and see what I can do to get you up and running. Of course, it takes money to make money or to invest in certain things, but anything that I have laying around to influence the growth of our company, you better know the guru is more than happy to extend that to certain degrees. I'm not just giving out stuff to people that want to get free stuff and run off. Of course, we're not doing that. It's for the betterment of us and our career, just to make that clear. But as far as in the Think Hub, we try to keep an atmosphere, whether it's virtually, we're going to try to keep an atmosphere to where it's positive and empowering and inspiring all in one. Meaning that once we start or we go live or you walk into that door, you already feel the aurora. You already are addressed with an inspirational feeling and statement. You're not bombarded with questions. You're not bombarded with deadlines. You're not bombarded with scrutiny of something you may have made a mistake with. You come in the door, you come in the meeting, and you're automatically being inspired to overlook those issues and grow from it. And that's something we need to always instill and make sure we emphasize on to be able to grow from our situations and move forward. So that's a major part of that. And I feel like we have to stick to that strongly. So going on to the second value, which is a major value a lot of people overlook, and particularly I feel like don't really understand. They claim it, but they don't really understand it to be able to gauge themselves on it. I guess I can kind of use a paradox or a phrase of a movie, Wizard of Oz. As we all know, Wizard of Oz. One of the things, the lion did not have and that he wanted as he was trying to find the wizard? I'll give you a moment as I ask that question to think, as I'm sure most of us already know the answer. But courage. If you think about that part of the movie of how the lion portrayed his courage, you get a better understanding of yourself and what the meaning of courage is. But having that courage means a lot, and it's a far more valuable thing than the dollar that we particularly set our mind to every day. If you don't have the courage to do anything, um, I mean, you're just a drifter. Like, just simply put, and what I mean by that is you may have aspirations, you may have some type of ambition, and you may be inspired in a lot of ways. But without courage, you would not start any plan. You would not particularly take interest enough to take initiative to make these things start. Um, you will shut down easy, to the negatives and adversities of natural life and being an entrepreneur. You have to have that courage, and that entails, to me, to break it down simple, you must have the initiative and the willpower to push and keep pushing, no matter what your outcomes is, whether they fail or whether it didn't come out the way you expected or whether it blew up. You have to have the courage to move towards that, and that's highly important to me, because having courage allows you to grow from the situation you're in, and that's a major part of this family, being able to grow from where we're coming from and who we are to who we want to become and who we should be. You got to have the courage to be able to address it that way. You also got to have the courage to address your fears. If you don't have the courage to address your fears, become an entrepreneur, you're already at 20% minimal. And what I mean by 20% minimal, that means you have a great 80% to go before you're actually ready to get out here and possibly start continually make your own money and dealing with what comes with it. It's not sweet always because you have the best work or the best quality of work. People don't care for that as much as they should, or we think they do in business. They care for it, but it's more so of you having the courage and the confidence to portray to them, to make them feel like they don't have to doubt. And without their courage, you won't be able to do that. So first and foremost, I'm gonna go ahead and elaborate on that. Although I elaborate on the word itself, I just want to make sure we got a good stimulant point and understanding of courage and why it's strong and why it's necessary. So on to the passage and the value behind courage with CampaignGanG. We strive to be a forerunner in our field by transforming quickly and courageously. What that means is we're striving, like I said, to be #1 media. The urban inspirational media is one of our main visions, and being the forerunner in our particular field of media, we want to be able to adapt and transfer, in between each project and each situation very quick, without hesitation. We don't want to have to dwell. We don't want to have to try to figure out, how to move from a certain situation to the next situation. We want to figure out a solution to every problem and move forward with confidence that we can solve it, and never dwell on the negatives. So courageously, that's a major point, and that's what we mean by courageously, not doubting it and being able to move with ease onto a solution. Onto the next, courage also describes our way of working and directing resources to new areas. With that being said, we want to carry courage and feel comfortable enough to always pass our resources amongst each department. We don't want to captivate and hold on to our accomplishments within one department. That defeats the purpose. You have a lot of companies, even with some Walmart locations, where each department is so segregated and separated amongst each other's expertise that they can't integrate to help the other department. An example, let's just say electronics is very understaffed all around Christmas. And because you work in the food department or the clothing department, and that's currently understaffed, you feel like you cannot help in the gaming department, which is hot selling around Christmas. But not having the courage amongst each other's department, that really, keeps everybody within a complacent point and keeping the business from thriving, and particularly missing profits, because you don't have clients, or not clients, or employees with the courage to be able to finish their job and continue on to help the next department. You got to have that courage, and you got to be able to extend those resources out, further than just home. And aside from that idea and description of it, you got to be able to do that and have the courage to spread resources outside of CampaignGanG itself, and know how to. We're not just giving away resources. We have resources that we give away for free. But as far as in CampaignGanG media core resources, of course, that's not for your own leverage, and that's not to be just given out at free will. So with that being said, you still have to have the courage to be able to spread resources and direct those resources in a proper way. But on to the next. Our future is in our hands. But we dare to listen to perspectives of new customer groups. Um, that by itself, excuse me, that means a lot. That sentence entails a lot within itself. Our future is, of course, in our hands. We make our choices, um, and our choices become our outcomes. So I try to make sure we focus on the planning to a certain aspect to where it's nitty and it's very, very neat and tight to where we can see where we should be in the near future by reading this particular plan and analyzing this plan. So it's very important that we take our plan serious and we spend our time throughout the weeks planning like we're supposed to. Uh, because planning is a major necessity as far as knowing where you're going and how you're moving about. Um, but with that being said, we're always open to listen to the perspective of new customers and the suggestions. And that's something that I want to strongly encourage, that the interaction between customers' feedback is always harnessed. It's always treated like a purchase, or it's always treated like the number one goal, because those are who will allow us to thrive, our customers. And without us understanding that dialogue between our customers and how they feel about their feedback and suggestions, we particularly lose a large portion of our particular mission. And we don't want to do that. We want to give customers a chance to voice their opinions and to have an impact on who we are and where we go. Not necessarily controlling us. As I said, our future is in our hands and based on our choices, but we want to take that in consideration. We're not going to treat you like the political vote system we have here in America, a false sense of suggestion and power. No, every suggestion you make is going to be looked over, and it will be discussed in our meetings, and it will be considered, highly, depending on the proficiency of that suggestion. So we never overlook our customer groups, and that's most important to our executives. We also grab hold of new possibilities for business operations beyond publication with an open mind. With that being said, we don't overlook possibilities based upon your status. And what I mean by that is whether you are a guest contributor or you are an outsourced partner, we would not overlook the possibility of your ideas and opportunities. It's still treated the same, and we keep an open mind to that. And with that being said, you're always welcome to email, contact one of us, and drop that suggestion. And the sooner you do it, the better, because we can address that. Those are things that we address in the meetings and we use to build from. Also aside from our particular concrete plans. So just keep that in mind and move through with that. On to the next. We demonstrate courage in our work by devoting ourselves to matters valued by our customers, by highlighting different viewpoints from those customers, by seizing new ideas and facts and bringing them forth to the finish line. I'm going to requote that again so I can make sure you understood the statement, and then I'm going to elaborate on it. We demonstrate courage in our work by devoting ourselves to matters valued by our customers, by highlighting different viewpoints, by seizing new ideas and facts and bringing them forth to finish line. By demonstrating the courage, like I said, in our work, and by devoting ourselves to the matters of our customers, that allows us to carry out our mission in every aspect as possible, whether it's a temporary project or ongoing project. That allow us to continue to move forward and to completely satisfy each customer or client. And that matters most, because if you can't devote yourself to the cause or the vision of that particular client, or even CampaignGanG client or mission, it makes it hard for you to actually carry it out to the extent that we need. So you have to be able to devote yourself to it and understand it of how it value yourself and the clients as well on both sides. It's like I said, it's a mutual relationship between us, the company, you, and the client. So we need that to be carried out in the proper way. So the most important thing I try to stress to most of our entrepreneurs that's part of the company or will be part of the company, we are social entrepreneurs, no matter how you look at it. Your ultimate title is a social entrepreneur. And what I mean by that is we're out here solving issues, social injustice, personal issues, and so forth. And to kind of, simply elaborate on that, we have to be able to assess whoever we encounter, whether it's a new employee or a new client or old client. with a new project, we have to be able to assess their problem up front, and their pain points. That's the main point in being able to solve our mission and accomplish our vision at that. Being able to identify each client, each encounter's pain point. And what I mean by pain point is what objections they face, what issues is stopping them from accomplishing their goals, what resources are stopping them from accomplishing their goals, and so forth. Those type of things. We have to be able to identify those up front and have it on file. Therefore, we can learn and formulate a strategy of how we can help versus sell. It's not all about selling with CampaignGanG. Of course, we want to make profits, and sale would be great if that's all we could do. But it's more to that. We want to add value behind everything we do. And it's not all about a sale of a dollar. So hopefully that's understood at that point. And like I said, by highlighting different viewpoints, we look at and we kind of monthly, we will be analyzing each client's reports. And when I mean our reports, that's from the initial day we meet them, and they correspond with us, send us over details about the project and who they are. We compare those amongst each client and business. And that's done because we want to understand completely our market and our clients, what they entail, complete satisfaction. And in order to do that, we sit down and we analyze each response and each requirement and each request from you guys and the clients. And so we highlight those viewpoints, and we kind of try to harness those into our uniqueness as a business. By seizing new ideas and facts and bringing them forth as to a finish line. Let's see, how can I put that for you? It's pretty much simple. Like I said, every feedback, every suggestion, we harness. It's not overlooked. We take that. When I mean by harness, we take those, we put them in front of us at the table, and we question them, we ask, and we pretty much try to look at it at every aspect as possible, how it can be beneficial. And if we can find that beneficial in a lot of ways in our system, we go ahead and implement that into a way that is acknowledged to be beneficial. We don't overlook any ideas and facts. We want to bring those to life and reality as soon as possible when they're reported. So that's why it's important to always feel free to contact us and drop us an email with your suggestions. Do that freely, no matter what level you're on, and always pass that to our clients and customers and potential leads. Let them know, even if they don't shop with us or they don't get anything done through us, feel free to reach out and interact with us on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. You know, feel free to talk to us. That's what we're here for. Courage also includes providing and receiving constructive feedback, both internally and externally, from our interest groups. Most important value. Run into it a lot where people don't understand the difference between constructive criticism. You have to be able to take criticism for what it is, whether it's negative or constructive. You have to be able to maneuver it and don't take it personal. It's not personal. No constructive criticism, or any criticism for that fact, in my opinion, is personal, because you should be able to take that and cipher it and grow from it and use it for whatever the benefit is. Not take it personal. Nothing's personal with it. It's just business, and it's part of the growth. It's necessary. We try to encourage that as much as possible in meetings, and even with clients. We try to provide that on a scale to where it's comfortable, acceptable, and receivable, you know, to where you're not confused by that energy. Constructive feedback is always encouraged in our meetings, and I stand by that strong, and I'm always stand by that strong to be able to accept that amongst the family and outside of the family. I should never hear isolated situation to where it's something personal being taken between a one-on-one meeting, whether it's your other subordinates or your leads. It should never be taken personal. And we definitely going to emphasize on the policy of conflict to be able to handle these type things, steps and ways to handle these things, and ways to escalate these type of issues so it won't become bigger. We want to alleviate our issues, our differences for the better and for the best as soon as possible, you know. So that's why I kind of want to emphasize on the constructive feedback and being able to have the courage of providing that, whether it's internally or externally, meaning inside of the organization, or you're dealing with a partnership outside of us. It still has to stand on that. So that's that as far as the courage. Hopefully that gave you a huge pointer on the value of courage and how it's highly important to you as a person, not only as CGM. Courage is a must. You must have courage, whether you're working with us, for us, or with someone else, or for yourself. You have to have that courage to drive and move forward and do things a certain way. It doesn't just fall out the sky because you're trying to do it. But you will see results because you're doing it. So I would definitely say that. But on to the next one. I think we're rolling pretty much into time, and we're almost to the bottom, to be honest. So we have responsibility is our next one, and the final one, to be honest. Like I said, our values is pretty brief. I believe it's simple, straight to the point, and understandable. And hopefully this video made it a lot more understandable. If not, like I said, ask questions, feel free. Hit us on our network channels, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Ask as many questions as possible. But responsibility. I think I kind of touched on it earlier, the importance of responsibility and accountability. But I'm going to go ahead and touch on it as a part of our value. The core elements of CampaignGanG responsible business are reliability, competence, interaction, communality, and environment. So I'm going to elaborate on those a little bit. The elements of these, all of these elements work together, and it's a necessity that we have working together to help this machine move the way it moves in responsibility. Responsibility is like one of the top values we have to enforce. Because like I said again earlier, as being you guys' director, I'm responsible for a lot of things. And it's up to you guys to hold me responsible, as well as myself, to be compelled to get these things done and move forward as a business. It won't happen by itself. It's not an automated business yet. And even that it being automated, meaning that it can move on its own and do its own results, it still has to have some type of direction. And something has to be held responsible to keep that going, or someone. So with that being said, reliability. We must stress the fact and values of being reliable. And what I mean by reliable, being able to be called upon in our community and the industries that we service, to be able to handle their problems at a reliable rate. And what I mean by reliable rate is being able to fulfill their expectancies and exceed that at any cost. So we want to be able to have that reliability and be known for that in our brand. Therefore, people are not second guessing our capabilities and what we can accomplish for them. So that is very, very high in a point. Now, competence, that's something that individually you have to adopt to, and in order for it to become a power amongst our team. But the fact that you must have the competence, that will pretty much entail that you understand who you are, and you have the acceptance to a value or a point to be able to accept that and move forward, and not be phony about it. And what I mean by phony is particularly faking a part of you or a character of you. You have the competence to be able to overcome that and understand that, to harness it for a strength. That's necessary for responsibility. It's your responsibility, to be able to stand up to that. Interaction, you are responsible for interacting. Whether you are a guest contributor or you're an in-house contributor or you're executive, photographer, whatever, you are responsible for interaction. Our weekly meetings, if you miss those, it is your responsibility to interact and figure out what's going on. We are a family. I do believe in the no child left behind, but you're not a child, so that doesn't apply. Therefore, interaction is a necessity. Whether it's in the meetings, speak, create your suggestion throughout the week, or just interacting, period. Touching bases with the clients, potentials, leads, you have to interact. And that's your responsibility as being a part of CGM. And not only just being a part of CGM and trying to build an entity in your community. Like, you have to be able to interact with your community, the youth, the young cats, the older cats, the women. You have to be able to interact and break out of that shell. That's something that I kind of want to push towards in some of our workshops, helping us break out of that and becoming outgoing. It's not an easy process for some of us that's confined. Communality, that's what it says within itself. Understanding the community, and understanding the ethics behind it and why we believe in such a high standard on that. You must have commonality, and you must understand the strength of a community within itself. That's something we're building as far as in the company and other communities offline out in the cities where we are. And then even amongst in the company, you have to have that amongst the environment. So that kind of much sums that up of the elements for the most part. Hopefully that gave you a better perspective of the responsibility portion of it. So to kind of deviate on and wrap up on this final one, CampaignGanG is a trustworthy deliverer of messages, interpreter of information, and provider of background information in a pluralistic society. CampaignGanG offers its employees a renewing and evolving work environment in which continuing in systematic development of professional skills and competencies. It is an essential part of the work. This is how the company carries its responsibility for maintaining the job market value of its employees and development of the entire industry. Those two statements pretty much they give you a great rundown of how we feel about our responsibility and why